So do you know where the water's coming from?
From the roof.
From the roof?
Maybe from the neighbors.
On the same estate where Awabishak lived, we're inside another home, falling apart with damp and riddled with mould.
I have bad asthma and blood is coming from the neck and sometimes, so I can't move as well. They have
You've been coughing up blood?
Yes.
The man who lives here asked us not to show his face, but he wants people to see the state of his home. He says it's making him ill.
So my friend, I have no choice, no means any, what you call the chance. Only I'm helpless.
He told me he has no choice. He feels helpless.
At any point, as an RBH tenant, at any point have they sent you a letter or communicated with you in any way about the dangers of mould?
None whatsoever.
For 4 years, Nick was asking RBH to move him from his last flat. An independent chartered surveyor recorded damp levels as high as the meters could read. But when RBH did their own inspection, they said there was no damp.
I saw the GP 10 times with symptoms of mould, with my breathing was getting worse and worse to the point where I was struggling just to walk one step.
For all the criticism and calls for tougher action, right now, Rochdale Borough-wide Housing is the biggest social housing provider in this area, with thousands of tenants.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad.
Just this weekend, Seisha had water leaking down from her bathroom into the kitchen. Her son Killian is non-speaking and being assessed for autism. He's 3.
Multiple times in the night I'll go in the bedroom and just watch him breathing, making sure he's all right. And no parent should have to live like that, especially, like I said, because he can't talk and he can't come up to me and say, "Oh, mummy, I can't breathe properly," or "I feel poorly." He can't do that. So as a mum, that is a big, big worry for me, because if something happened in the night, he can't tell me. And it is a really, really big fear.
Tonight, Rochdale Borough-wide Housing, RBH, have told us they're sorry about the conditions we've found their tenants are still living in. They say they know work still needs to be done. On that, this tenant totally agrees.
I mean, how many times have you reported stuff to RBH?
Literally every month since I've been here. Like, there's always something wrong with the flat. Always something, but they don't do anything.
She too has black mould that's been reported to RBH and nothing done. She told me when she looks after her niece and nephew, their breathing is affected.
Because the thing is, although you can hide it away in terms of being able to see it,
Yeah.
it's the spores, isn't it?
Yeah, you can smell it as well. As soon as you open the door, you can smell it straight away. It's shocking.
Does it worry you?
It does. Yeah, it does.
Her flat is all of 50 metres from the flat where Awabishak lived.
Especially the story that's come out on the little boy. It's really sad as well. Yeah, it's shocking.
That it came to that?
Yeah, it is. They should have prevented it. And they could have.
Look at it. Was there any mold on the inside of this walk-in?
I don't think so, no.
You don't think so?
Look at the mold all over the floor.
There's 3 significant areas of mold.
Oh!
This isn't healthy for you.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Toxic black mold is rare but dangerous. These molds damage vital parts of the human body, including the lungs and immune system, and are potentially fatal. Because toxic mold can spread easily through air vents, any infestations found in one area of the bar can render the entire building unsafe.
What's this walk-in? Oh, me.
No way!
This is a board.
Oh, dude, you got mushrooms growing in your walk-in.
Spores. They have their own unique smell. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in.
Look at this!
Oh my God.
Get the out of here! Get the out of here! This is unbelievable!
Dude.
Check, Steve. Let's clean. I gotta have this tested. If this is black mold, we are all in trouble. I'm out of here. This place is dangerous, for Christ's sakes. Nobody eats this frickin' food.
New tonight, a Pasco County mother fearing homelessness as rent prices rise across the Bay. She's been dealing with mold issues in her apartment, but housing authorities say they've done all they can and she might have to move. 10 Tampa Bay's Shannon Clow takes us inside the Hudson Ridge apartments with this woman's plea for help.
My son is 36 and disabled. I am 58 and disabled.
That allows Doreen Kelsey to be a part of HUD's voucher program, giving her assistance to live here at Hudson Ridge Apartments in Port Richey.
The minute you open the door, you're being smacked in the face with a musty, mildewy, moldy smell.
Kelsey noticed that smell shortly after moving in on December 1st, 2021.
We have been told by Pasco County Housing that we have to most likely vacate the premises within 120 days.
But doesn't know where to go, especially as rent rises in the area. She says that makes it harder for her to find safe Section 8 housing.
We're both disabled and now we're looking at being totally homeless.
Kelsey has a handful of paperwork detailing her plea for help.
I have reached out to HUD, I have reached out to Pasco County Housing, I have contacted area churches. Nobody will help us.
So I did the same. HUD sent me this statement telling me Pasco County housing officials are addressing her issue. The first was an inspection on June 8th with an independent company through her apartment complex. The report details the inspector found fungal growth on her HVAC unit. On June 15th, Pasco County Housing Authority sent their inspector and her apartment failed due to the interior air quality. On June 28th, there was a new HVAC coil installed. Wednesday, there will be a re-inspection.
The smell is still here. Nothing's being done.
If she moves, she has to cover the costs.
Help me so we don't wind up on the streets.
She's been asking for help.
They're not listening. Put you in this situation.
Until Wednesday's inspection, she's stuck inside this apartment, breathing in what she believes to be mold.
I am at my wit's end. Do we stay and continue to live with this god-awful smell? Or is it going to wind up killing my son or me?
In military matters, a military family speaking out tonight after they say black mold in their on-post housing has forced them to live in a hotel for months. Jessica Scott provided us these photos. She says she had no choice but to speak out when she wasn't provided with concrete answers from Fort Hood Family Housing. She says black mold has forced her and her family from their home, made them sick, and contaminated everything they own. And things are just getting worse. She says it's affecting her family mentally, financially, and physically.
They had testing done yesterday. We were told there's no mold in the home, yet there's water damage to several walls in the home. There's mold, suspected fungal growth inside air ducts and registers and return vents.
Now, in response to us, Fort Hood Family Housing said in part, quote, Fort Hood Family Housing is committed to providing outstanding communities where military families can live, work, and thrive. We have their full statement on our website, kcentv.com. You can go check that out.
Forced them out of their dream home. Months later, they are drowning in bills, and still they cannot live in that home.
Now they want to save others from going through this. WMAR2 News' Abby Isaacs explains what you need to know.
Well, there we go. In their nearly 50 years together,
They got married at 19.
Ernie and Kay Sylvester built a beautiful life.
I have 2 kids, and I have 4 grandchildren.
But now, seeing even her grandchildren is quite an ordeal.
My daughter ordered clothes from Amazon to here. I washed the clothes. When the kids came over, we had to give them a bath. Then we put on the new clothes, and then I could give them hugs.
It's her new normal after mold invaded their Edgewater home.
Everything is contaminated.
It started with a window leak late last year. While it was getting fixed, Kay got really sick to the point where she could barely walk.
I felt like my life was slipping between my fingers.
A doctor determined she's genetically predisposed to mold.
My body does not process molds, and get rid of it out of the body like the ordinary person.
They never saw it at their home. They had no idea they were breathing in microscopic spores. And an inspector discovered it wasn't just from a leak.
The crawl space is where they went first and where they found most of the mold.
So in February, they had to move out and live with family.
The hard part is, what do you do first and how much of that do you do? The only thing we had was from the doctor who was trying to help and give us leads.
They eventually found remediator David Myrick.
This area here was pretty rotted.
He owns Valor Mold Removal based out of Virginia. He follows the standard for professional mold remediation, setting up containment barriers, negative air pressure, and using the recommended removal techniques.
They had mold all over their crawl space, and so we had to come in and do what's called dry ice blasting. It's the most thorough method to strip mold out of wood, but it's very violent.
But he often runs into remediators who don't, who take shortcuts because there's no legal requirement for them to follow the industry standard.
This is a total free-for-all. This is a total Wild West.
The General Assembly passed an act in 2008 that would have helped by requiring a mold remediator's license to do work. But it was never funded, so those licenses aren't available. Myrick says instead, homeowners should make sure the remediator they hire has a contractor's license.
That makes the insurance valid, workman's comp. If there's a legal dispute, you can go to court with it, whereas if you're not licensed in that state, all that's thrown out the window.
Because of case sensitivity, this project has taken much longer than usual, now going on 2 months.
We had to replace the insulation in the crawl space and the attic. We had to replace all of the ductwork in the crawl space.
In total, they've dealt with nearly 10 different contractors. The bills keep mounting. The cost of getting it done right.
About $130,000.
Right.
And we're retired, so there is no extra money coming in.
So they're taking things day by day. Come on, girls. Little by little, Kay's getting better.
It's a very slow process.
We look for little successes everywhere.
As for the dream home they built on the water 22 years ago, they hope to be able to move back in by the end of the year.
Hey! Oh! Union Busting's got to go!
At the Starbucks on Poplar near Prescott, about a dozen Memphis Starbucks workers take to the streets, chanting and holding signs that read, "Got mold? We do."
What this is for is mostly about the accountability that we're having issues with our manager. They are insisting that we keep serving moldy ice to our customers. There's been a lot of black mold in our ice machine because of the poor installation from Starbucks, and they insist on serving it. We refuse.
The employees are on strike after they say they found mold in an ice machine at the coffee shop.
So we found out recently that there is black mold all around our ice machine. We asked the store manager to have a professional come in and clean it because none of the baristas or supervisors were comfortable with cleaning it ourselves.
These employees walked off the job Saturday night after they say management rejected their request to professionally clean the ice machine and repair a leak.
My manager told me it was cleaned to everyone's satisfaction, but I still don't feel comfortable serving moldy ice to my customers.
Workers shared these photos with WREG. They say the pictures show mold and other unhealthy conditions for employees and customers.
It makes us feel like our health and our safety is not their priority. It also makes us feel like the customer's health and safety isn't their priority.
Your sign here, what does it say? Why?
Absolutely. It says there is power in a union.
This is the same Starbucks where workers were fired after trying to unionize back in February. But Starbucks had to reinstate the 7 employees after a U.S. Court of Appeals ruling.
We have gotten their attention all the way down to the headquarters in Seattle. They fired us illegally for unionizing. We got reinstated with our 10J injunction, and we are back here at our jobs, and now we are able to help protect our city, and most importantly, the customers.
The workers demand Starbucks fix the issues and begin bargaining with the union members in hopes of getting back to the business of serving and selling a cup of joe.
We sent a strike letter to our management team saying that they have until 11:59 tonight to fix the problem, and then we can go back to work on Monday.
Alex Coleman, WREG TV, News Channel 3.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. We took a look at every single area tested, and despite the very obvious signs of mold throughout the building, according to this 46-page study, the mold air count in the air is actually higher outside, out here with us, than it is inside the building. You don't have to look very hard to find it.
It's been this way for a long time.
Trapped inside the county jail with 2,200 inmates and over 400 employees.
Simply the mold is everywhere.
It's so bad, the mold has cleared out some rooms. To fix the issue would require county commissioners to act and ultimately your tax dollars. The mold problem starts from the top down. When plumbing gets backed up, it leaks sewage to the floors below.
There's parts of this facility that virtually rain every day.
Right now we're in what used to be the kitchen of the jail. They've had to move everything completely out of here because of the mold. Look right here. You can see it's growing all along the walls and the baseboard. It's like this throughout the entire room. In some places, it's even worse. But according to the study, the airborne mold spore count was found to be low. So low, the highest amount of mold in the jail's air was only 18% of what was found outside. They recommended the county fix all of the water issues and remove the mold as soon as practical. Now it's up to the county to decide what to do with this information. This study was presented to a meeting this morning. They decided to hand it off to county commissioners to take a look at their next meeting. Reporting live from downtown Oklahoma City, Zach Rael, KOCO 5 News.
The Carpenters Union began looking into reports of unsafe working conditions at the Miley Sky Court several months ago. This is what they found at the job site after workers there complained about respiratory problems after working 70-hour work weeks. They also complained about crowded living conditions, in some cases 6 people to a hotel room. The union was looking into possible undocumented construction workers from Mexico and Honduras and came across the black mold.
What we found here, again, was very disturbing. We had conducted tests by an independent certified lab that tested the drywall removed from the hotel, and they found the presence of toxic black mold on 4 floors in the Sky Court.
The union says it's filed complaints with the EPA, the State Health Department, and the city over this black mold issue, and it's wondering where all the construction material is ending up. A driver on scene told KITV the material is being properly disposed of at the Nanakuli PVT landfill. State and city officials are following up after receiving the union letter yesterday. The union said it's been trying to unravel the relationship between 3 different companies linked to the job site: R&R Construction, Selby Construction Services, and TRG, who's listed as a general contractor on the job.
We hope that that they're held accountable and that they're held to the standard that all law-abiding companies who do business in Hawaii are held to.
Chuck recalled the last major crackdown was back in 2007 during another red-hot construction market.
And we saw unsafe working conditions at the Pinnacle, and we saw job site action that resulted in the federal government going in there and arresting people.
State and federal regulators are looking at whether the companies are registered to do business in Hawaii and whether the workers are being paid properly. Efforts to reach the various companies, as well as Clearview Hotel Capital, which owns the property, were unsuccessful. Reporting from Waikiki, Catherine Cruz, KITV Island News.
New at 10 o'clock tonight, an apartment complex at the center of controversy tonight. A tenant claims she was retaliated against after she fought for her rights, and now she's been locked out of her own apartment. Let's go to KPRC2's Brandon Walker, live tonight in Southwest Houston, with a look at problems she's facing tonight. Brandon?
Yeah, Daniela, a lot here. As you mentioned, that resident says that she began to advocate for other residents here, and that's when she says she was retaliated against. But tonight, she now has help from some legal aid, also community activists.
Hello, how y'all doing?
It's an introduction.
Why you going in the back? You was talking all that trash. Why you got these people living like this?
That sent management at Victoria Villa Apartments running.
You turn around and cut off their lights. Don't be going in over here hiding in that door. Come over here and talk to us.
Saying hello is Dr. Candace Matthews of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Her intended recipient is the complex's manager.
I was depressed. I was crying.
Accused of retaliating against Samantha Fernandez, a tenant who says she's without electricity, has mold growing in her apartment, and if that's not enough, Fernandez says the same goes for her mother, who lives in the same complex.
I just want them to fix my air and my mom's air and turn my lights back on so that I can pack my furniture and put it in storage until my house is ready.
Moving out the end goal, Fernandez suspects because she spoke up, management acted out even tried to hike up her rent.
I took them to court in May because they tried to make me pay $1,100 when my lease says $725.
Fernandez was victorious there, but she says because she fought, management turned off her lights, won't respond to requests to remove mold, and haven't been nice or responsive.
You have proof? Baby, I got all the proof. That's why we here. That's why we here. Why you gotta be so wild? Why you gotta be so wild?
This is private property. You all can't be here. I spoke to you. This is private property, sir.
This morning, we are launching the 13 on Your Side Help Team, advocating for those in the community in need of a helping hand.
Imagine paying more than $1,400 in monthly rent for years only to find black mold growing throughout your home. That is the reality for a family in West Michigan who says they're now dealing with medical issues as a result, and they say the property owner has asked them to stay quiet about it. That's when the 13 on Your Side Help Team got involved.
There's tons of black mold in there on the floor, right under here.
Melanie Baker and her fiancé, Corey Holbrook, have lived in this manufactured home at Talmadge Meadows for almost 5 years.
You can see it on the outside of our home.
Their 3-year-old daughter and Baker's 17-year-old also called this home until recently.
It's our personal nightmare.
When lab tests came back showing mold was found in nearly every corner of the home, they began throwing out their belongings.
My daughter's toys.
And looking for new housing options.
I have not seen horror movies that have scared me as much as what we have found in this house.
When did you first notice there was mold?
We did not see any black mold until about 2.5 years ago.
In the roof, because the roof needed to be redone.
And in our closet, and that's the only place that we thought that it was.
We submitted the forms to the park to have the repairs done. The park said, bear with us. We only have one maintenance manager in so many parks.
Weeks turned into months, and they say the problem was never addressed.
They keep hiring and firing managers and maintenance man, and nobody picks up the load from the person before.
Yep.
I guess they let 5 maintenance guys go, and then they let 5 managers go.
That's the voice of the former maintenance employee at Talmadge Meadows, Elton Sleet, who says he worked for the company until last November. He says he was told not to address any issues in Baker's unit until after she moved out.
Why do you think management kept asking you to wait until she moved out? Were they under the impression she was moving out soon?
Well, I guess the regional manager was trying to get her out of the park for some reason.
Baker says management accused her of harassing them because she kept making maintenance requests. Meanwhile, the mold continued to grow, affecting the entire family.
We've just been living here and being poisoned since we moved in.
They say they've dealt with everything from rashes to respiratory issues, the 3-year-old getting the worst of it.
She has had breathing problems her whole life. We have brought her in multiple times every month, and we never knew where it was stemming from. We had no idea.
Goes to the doctor.
We're on top
She's
of
got
it.
so many specialists. It's broken my heart, knowing that we're the ones to protect her, and we thought we have been. We didn't know that until we got the report that all of her conditions were contributed to this.
A lab report from late December shows mold covering more than half the home. The children were immediately sent to live with grandparents, but it wasn't so simple for Baker and Holbrook.
It's so hard because we have 3 dogs. No one wants to rent to you when you have 3 dogs.
The management team at Talmadge Meadows says they offered the family a new home at a reduced rate, but they declined. Baker saying she was worried the mold would just be painted over and the unit rented out to someone else.
It needs to be condemned. It needs to be completely ripped out of there, junked. And we are horrified that someone's gonna move in there afterwards. That's why I'm fighting, trying to get it condemned as it is, so that they can never rent that out to another family.